Okay, so this review is going to be of Barren River State Park Golf Course. Barren River is a state park. It's a golf course on a state park. And Barren is a small town in Kentucky that is approximately, uh, I'd say, a half an hour drive east of Bowling Green, Kentucky on I-64, or south below Louisville by about 45 minutes off of I-65. Exit 53, you go about half an hour southeast off of exit 53 and you're at the course. So this is a slope 140 course from the back tees, rated, it's 6,500 yards from the back tees. The cost on the weekend was $35, including a cart for 18 riding. And overall, I would say the course is a soft 140. It is a different type of 140 than many courses that are 140, slope 140. It has many more drop down shots to the green from the fairway. It has about 3 elevated greens from the fairway. But I think its real claim to fame, the thing that makes it really tough, is it doesn't have a lot of long carries. It only has maybe 3 even really challenging carries. There's a par 3 on the front side that's 250 from the back tees. It's downhill to a drop down green, and you have to hit over some creeks. There's a fair number of wastes off the tee that you have to cross, but not really long carries. And I wouldn't say that there's a lot of any real difficulty off the tee on this course, except for the one trick that you do have to be careful about is almost all the fairways have about a 45-degree slope from the fairway to the woods on the sides of the fairway. So you go to this fairway, it's a crowned kind of fair, almost all the fairways are slightly crowned. And then you have some rough, some mossy rough, which is maybe, they have it cut down so it's maybe 2 inches thick, mossy rough. So it's not really hard to get a club through it, but it's still noticeably harder than hitting off the fairway. There's a definite difference in the way you have to play out of that mossy rough compared to playing off the fairway. And even though the fairway is the same kind of grass but shorter, so it's cut down, so it's almost a proper fairway, it's still kind of soft and fuzzy and a little different to play out of. But the main thing is between the fact that the rough isn't really rough, it's more like a bouncy, patty kind of rough, like they have at Raspberry Falls, for example, has this kind of same kind of rough. A few courses that I've played have it. It's not common, but it's not totally unusual. As opposed to long, say the long bluegrass type of rough, which is really thick and it's kind of like a mesh around the ball, and it's really hard to get the club through it. The same kind of thing they have at Bethpage Black. They have it at Bull Run, for example. Some other courses, that's your standard type of rough. And the thing is that a lot of courses will not let the rough grow up so that it actually is tough to play out of, because it is tough to play out of and it makes it a lot harder to advance the ball. It's also a lot harder to find the ball in that kind of rough. So you don't see a lot of courses that have that kind of thick, tall bluegrass rough. Shenandoah National Park has it up here in Virginia, and it's just a 3x9 and it's a $25 3x9, but that rough on that course is so tough. I once spent 15 minutes looking for a ball that landed just off the green. It was down in the rough, and I literally didn't see it till I was standing right on top of it. It is exceptionally hard to play out of that kind of rough when you have a course like that. So a lot of places don't have that kind of rough, but they'll have something resembling a rough, like a long bladed grass rough. Maybe it'll be cut down so the ball doesn't disappear in the rough, and it isn't impossible to hit out of it, but it'll still be there. So this course has a kind of mossy rough, which is like an annoyance to hit out of, but it's not really tough. It's certainly easy enough for a player of moderate to low skill levels to play out of it. You're not going to hit the ball nearly as well as you would if you're on the fairway, if you're a decent player, but a borderline bad player isn't going to be penalized a whole lot compared to playing off the fairway, because they're not going to hit off the fairway really well anyway. And when the ball does get caught up in the mossy rough, it's easier to hit. You get plenty of grass to put under the ball, put the blade under the ball, so it's not hard to hit out of at all. And actually, some people like this kind of rough or playing out of the rough more than they like playing off the fairway because it's easier to get the blade under the ball. So it has that kind of rough. But, however, there is only maybe 10 or 15 yards of it on the sides of the fairways, and it's not nearly enough to stop your ball from bouncing into the woods, especially if there's a slope down from the fairway into the woods. The ball might hit that rough, bounce on it once, and keep going. What it tends to do is stop balls from rolling into the woods. So as long as you have a ball that's close enough to the fairway so that it stops bouncing on the fairway and rolls into the rough, that kind of rough is adequate, and that's okay. So it trades that thick, high rough and fescue that you see on some courses with really high slope ratings for a thinner, mossier, easier to play rough, a sloping side to the fairway where it goes into the woods, and thick woods that you could go in and find a ball and play it out of it, but you really don't want to. It's not the kind of woods you want to go walking around in there. It's not terrible, thick, viney woods, ivy and stuff, but it's still not, something you want to do. And that rough continues around the green. So instead of having elevated greens or greens that are sort of cone shaped, they're heavily swaled with a lot of verticality that makes them really tough to putt or really tough to hold onto or anything like that. This course has fairly large greens, but the greens are all on the edge of a steep drop off behind the green or to the sides of the green. So it's really easy for you to hit a ball and have it go a little bit long or a little bit right, a little bit left or whatever, and then just drop down off into oblivion. Not quite oblivion per se, but certainly down the side 6 to 10 feet and possibly into waist, well beyond the green. Some holes it's well beyond the green. Some holes it's right behind the green. Like, I think the number 4 is a dogleg left. You come to the left and then you're hitting down to this green. It's like sitting there waiting for you to hit down to it, but right behind the green it just goes poof, dropping off down into the woods. So in no way do you want to be long on holes like that. It's almost impossible to play back up unless you get really lucky and the ball comes out somewhere clear where you have a good swing at it and a good shot back to the green. 9 times out of 10 it'll be lost somewhere in the waist behind the green. So that's what I think the real bite to this course is. It has some carries, it has some crevices, there's definitely some creeks and so forth on it, but it's not really long enough even from the back tees to be too much of a problem. I got a lot of pars on the back side. I got some pretty good looks at pars on the front side, although we were really battling rain on the front side, so we didn't play consistently, but still it wasn't that hard at all. It's not a tough course. What it is a course that really, really punishes you for hitting balls off the fairway, hitting them offline. And as long as you keep the balls relatively straight towards the pin, you'll be fine. Okay, it's got nice wide fairways. It's got low overhangs. There's only a few holes that have trees overhanging the greens. Only a few tee boxes that have trees that are in any way of a problem off the tee, even from the back tee. So it gives you adequate room to play out into the course, but there is still a steep drop off where, okay, this is fine, we'll leave this on the course, and okay, this isn't, we're going to shuffle it off into the woods. And especially when you combine that with the tick warnings that they have on the course, you really don't want to go off in the woods looking for balls. Even if you have an idea of where it went, you still don't want to do that on this course. So a moderately tough course. It's picturesque. It's got some nice places with some nice views of the lake, and it's relatively quiet. There's no major road noise around the course. I didn't have any issues with anyone walking on the course. There's more than enough places to walk. There actually is a walking path that goes across the cart path in a couple places. There actually is a road that goes by a few, the access road to the course does go by a few of the holes. So there will be some cars that you will see passing by the course, but nothing outstanding. It's not like you go out there and there's 55-mile-an-hour traffic by the course. It's actually quite a decent environment to play golf in. I did enjoy it. It was a good price. It's not out in the middle of nowhere in the woods, in the mountains somewhere. It's a nice state park in the middle of a decent small town. That's Barren River State Park Golf Course. I will give it a B. It's good, but not great. It's certainly a good round. It's a good place to play, something to try out. You could actually enjoy this playing this course, fairly regularly. It's something you could play with your kids or your family or friends and not have a rough time with it. But it is still just a woods course with the occasional view of a lake, and therefore I can't make too much of it. And so a B it gets. Barren River Golf Course in Barren, Kentucky, just east of Bowling Green, Kentucky.